Hey folks, this is Kaiser's from Kaiser's Castle talking to you. Take a seat on my big orange couch. Grab yourself a coffee, tea, soda, and adult libation as we discuss several things today. And of course, it being Halloween themed, because this is the month of October, or Rocktober as those DJs say. We're going to talk a little bit about some serious stuff in the beginning. And then we're going to roll into a little bit of, and I guess to show you a basic outline for what the show will be to maybe pique your interest. It's like civil defense, 80s versus now, preparedness, that kind of thing. And for that, I brought on my awesome guest host, whenever he's able to do it, straight from somewhere in Europe. Kimmy, how you doing, brother?
Hey brother, how are you doing? Thank you. I'm fine.
That's cool. Everything's good on my end too, man. Except for this is one of the things we can talk about. You can never be prepared for the unexpected, and this is one of those things I think is probably mutual both overseas and in the U.S. is the stresses on something like we're experiencing now. In my opinion, under our laws, the U.S. laws, both the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, what we have right now is a forced lockdown or at-home imprisonment, and all over the place. Your thoughts on that, brother?
Yeah, it's totally stressful, and it's also the issue with it is like also the supply chain is broken right now, and if you even if you want to prepare for the upcoming months, you have some issues, like you can't buy food there, or you can't do that, or you can't order your food, or you have ammunition that is not available for you again, and all those things can totally stress you, as also the market situation right now. So you have to go along with it and take whatever you can.
Oh yeah, you just find what hopefully you need. And you don't hoard buy. That's what's caused this entire thing. Everybody hoarding stupid shit. Like, I couldn't believe it. Just because of the meat packing industry's problems. Cotto salami, something that's very easy to find over here normally. Couldn't find it at all. It was like everybody, and my wife brought it up. She said, well, kids are back in school. People are making sandwiches for their kids, or the kids, they go to school at a weird time. It's like 2 days on and 3 days they learn from home. So they have to give the kids food that they can fix themselves sometimes, the older kids. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense, And macaroni and cheese, of course, that goes away, which is ridiculous and retarded, until you realize that's something even little kids can make, Not little, but you know what I mean. Your thoughts on that, brother?
Well, it's kind of crazy here and there right now. I mean, like kids can't do anything anymore in school here. They have to let the window open all the time, and they're really cold. Right now it's very cold here. We have like I don't know in Fahrenheit, but we have like 5 to 10 degrees here, and it started getting really cold, and children has to sit in the classroom with jackets on and so on, and with gloves and with mouthpieces and so on. And if I had a kid in that age, I wouldn't let him into school right now because it's too much craziness. And I can see that children are absolutely they can prepare stuff. I mean, when they are 9 or 10, I did my own dishes as well, but or sandwiches and so on. But right now, it's too much craziness for them.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, 5 to 10 in Fahrenheit. I believe because that's positive 5 to 10. That should be probably about 20. Well, no. Hold on, I just screwed that up. 32 degrees is where you guys have 0 for Celsius. So it should be, just for the Americans out there, it should be roughly around 40 degrees to 46 or 47 degrees Fahrenheit from your Celsius temperatures.
Yeah, it's right. It's right before, when it's really getting wet and cold, and right before the winter starts and the minus, the freezing point is hitting. Before that, and yeah, it's a joke. It's really a joke.
Right. It's kind of silly. Yeah, I know what you mean, brother. But yeah, they just got the silliness happening, and so anyways, we touched on that a little bit, and you can always run around outside without a mask on if you want to riot for BLM or something like that here in the U.S. Do you guys experience any of that over in Europe?
Well, not exactly like BLM. We have Antifa, as you know. I mean, it came from here, from Germany, from East Germany, as we all know, as you know. And we still have those guys here, but they don't have they don't control their masses, or they don't have like a big majority. They're really, really, really small, but the problem overall is they don't have to be big like in the States. They are all over the politics, because we have hard left politicians here that are right in their pockets, and they also finance and control Antifa, and and also let the normal people, the normal worker, pay them money, through taxes. So that's what goes on here. I mean, we're like 3-4 steps ahead, but we don't have the clashes and the riots.
Right. Yeah, I remember that brings up a subject. We were talking with people the other day, and it was funny how, since you're on the European side, and I'd been there back there during the Cold War, we were just talking about preparedness, and the subject came up on, excuse me, civil defense. Frog in my throat. I got the Ronas. Anyways, we were talking about old time civil defense, which here in America became FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. And people were shocked when I told them, Soviet Union, old Soviet Union, and Switzerland were the most prepared nations on the planet for a nuclear event. And that's even more so than we were during our heyday of civil defense. And that was just something that came up. And so maybe you could tell us a little bit about the preparedness back in the 80s that you saw in Europe.
So basically, every household had a little bunker under their house. It depends. If it was like a big block, you had like also a big bunker, where you have like toilets and everything, and you have a whole system there. And you had people that lived in the area that exactly knew what's going on and what to do when the fallout would happen. So you had a full preparedness till way over to the 2000s. So you still have little or bigger doors in everyone's cellar. They are really big, like fully, yeah, I don't know, like yeah, 2 3 arm lengths on size, so I would say, yeah, we were pretty prepared for every major catastrophe, and we had also like tunnel systems around blocks that are connecting with each other, so you can go from one point to point B and so on, and different things. And yeah, some of those things are still existing, but it's not maintenance like back in the day. So it got a bit forgotten.
Oh yeah, I remember when I was young in the schools even. They would have you had a little like a yellow and black sign that marked a fallout shelter on the outside of the schools for the people around to know there's a fallout shelter. And it was usually towards the basement of the school. The style of the building now, probably, well, we can talk about that another time or later on with what it is like now. But the designs of the school were really solidly built. And the basements, they would have Kearney air filters, which basically were invented in Switzerland. They were a Swiss design to where they could rotate air, fresh air and bad air, carbon dioxide, what you breathe out. And you can, there's a book out called How to Build a Kearney Air Filter. You can purchase that from not purchase it, it's actually free, but you can buy it. But if you're in the U.S., FEMA actually publishes that book. I think it was written by Kearney, I think, the guy who invented it. And so you can find the Kearney air filter book. I believe it's a green book with black writing, and then it shows you how to build one, and it also shows the Swiss designs of them and other type of manufactured electric air pumps to circulate the air. Bad air out, good air in. Same premise for like HVAC, how your heater works in the winter when it takes in air from the outside but also has the vent to come out. So that's kind of the whole thing on that one. But yeah, they would also have food packed in these circular drums, toilet paper too. They'd have all kinds of stuff in there, and water, and it was always rotated, right? And it was stamped with the civil.
Yeah, exactly.
It was stamped with the civil defense, a CD in America emblem. It just said CD, which meant civil defense, and the fallout shutter was always marked with 3 triangles going tip down. So that they were stacked in a triangle, basically, almost, but they're face down, not face up. And let me see what else to remember about that. They had toilet paper, water, food. I believe they had, believe it or not, for sanitation in the toilet paper thing. If memory serves, they also had trash bags, and what those small trash bags were for was inside there was a bucket, and I guess you just tied up the waste and threw it outside the shelter. That's my guess. I don't know what their real plans were back then. I've went to the state of Ohio's state library, and that's the only place I've been able to find old civil defense manuals. And of course, I think they were like 5 cents a copy. And I copied a bunch of them back in the day. when I was going to school, and just to see the difference from then and now. Like back then, they encouraged people to bring their shotgun or rifle or pistol to the shelter to defend in case something happened inside the shelter. And now, of course, whenever FEMA does anything, they tell you don't bring your guns, don't bring, and see that, or your own supplies. They don't really tell you to do that. They tell you to have a 3-day bag, 3-day kit. But yeah, anyway, so your thoughts on that? Because I'm touching on now when, we're still talking about back then.
Right now, I think like it's a whole other world. So it's very important that people prepare themselves. Like I don't think the issue is now atomic catastrophic situation. It's more like a supply line issues, or a civil war or something like that. I mean, we can debate like forward and backward about what's coming up next month with the election and everything, and with the issues with the extreme left in Europe or in the US. But that thing will not go away really smoothly. Also jumping into the COVID situation, for me, it's all those issues are deeply connected with each other, and COVID is just a symptom of a bigger issue. And if you want to prepare, and if you want to be ahead on the curve, you should do your best. I mean, like the standard supply chain, have food for 4 weeks, have a water filtration system, like the basics, have light at home, candles, and so on, have a gun that you can protect yourself. And you start small, and then you go bigger. But you can always rely on that, and it's always good to have it, because also when I grew up in the 80s, that was still known. So people did it back then. It was like mainstream that people kind of prepared, not like prepared that going into the woods, but prepared for a national emergency situation. And we have one, and probably the next lockdown will come, and the next issue. And I recommend really to do it. So
I agree with you totally, because it is a national emergency situation when you have destabilization ops happening, which is what's going on both in the West, everywhere in the West. It's not just America. You guys, everybody's just got a different flavor of it, and it's the same leftist BS. When I say leftist, I'm not talking just for the Americans out there. I'm not talking about a classical liberal, a Jeffersonian liberal. I'm talking about the communist left, the socialist left. And it always makes me laugh. I was talking to somebody about this. They always say Hitler was right-wing. Well, Hitler was a national socialist. So they can sell that somewhere else. It always makes me laugh. He killed a bunch of people. Yeah, okay, whatever, that's fine, I get it. But he was a socialist. And anytime socialists or communists take charge of a country, masses of people will be killed. And it's just the nature of the beast. But, so that's something that people should know. Everybody, I know the media always hypes this, that, and the other as being the right-wing boogaboo, or whatever they call it, I can't remember. Something like that. And I'm like, they've been doing this since the 80s. I remember when I first was in Boy Scouts and getting my eagle, they were saying, oh, the survivalist. And yet, what does the Boy Scouts, the American Boy Scouts, I don't know what your European Boy Scouts were like, but they take you to the woods, teach you how to survive off the land if you had to, if you got lost or something, teach you how to read a compass, teach you how to use a knife and a hatchet, teach you how to use a gun. These were things that they did, to make young men better men. And so then they started vilifying survivalists and survivalism, which is what they now had to rename preparedness. And they vilified it so much that they quit calling, people quit saying, yeah, I have my survival bag packed, in case of an event or something. And they vilified it so badly that the whole industry just started saying, oh, it's preparedness. And it's always about changing terminologies with them, because they're anything that anybody does that makes them more self-reliant, they target. They don't want people to be able to be on their own. They want people to be dependent upon the government. And I know you weren't in the U.S. when this happened, I think, but when Hurricane Katrina happened, look at how well the government took care of the people in the dome that they had in New Orleans. I can't remember. I don't live there. But the stories of the rapes that happened in there, the violence, the theft, to the poor people, it's just pathetic. And then, of course, they blame Bush, but I remember this for a fact. I was overseas when it happened, and I remember seeing truckers it was on YouTube, of course, that I had seen this. By this time, I had stopped believing in the mainstream media, and that was '05. I believe it was '05 when that happened. It was. And anyways, FEMA trucks were stopped at the bridges from going any further by the Louisiana Highway Patrol, or not Highway Patrol, but the police. And it took days for them to be able to get anywhere where they could help anybody. And of course, those people didn't have a survival kit or a preparedness kit ready because of that kind of vilification. Being a survivalist is white supremacist. Being a prepared guy is white supremacist. That's just how they do, man. They constantly do this, and it really irritates me when people ask me I'm a survivalist. I don't give a fuck. Their terminology is no longer what they vilify and what they say. It's just like the term racist. It's so stupid. In the 80s, that shit was whipped. And now they act like there's this big resurgence of racism. The only racism I ever saw was from the Obamas when they were in office. And that's all I ever saw, because they just didn't like people that weren't just like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to touch quickly on the part where it's got vilified. It's of course it's not the government or any organization doesn't want you to be like you own masters. So it's not. It doesn't have something to do with skin color or ethnicity or anything like that. You basically should always think about what is essential, what is efficient, what do I need. Especially. Let's make an example. You're in you have a car, and then it's winter. You're on a highway, and then and then you're like in your suit, and you have like light clothes on, and then you have issue with your tire. You get out, and you can't fix your car. You can basically freeze. You do. So preparation means always like think about I have to have in my car a pair of other boots, in case. I have some socks in my car. I have some gloves in my car. Maybe I have some lighter in my car. I have a knife with me. I have a flashlight with me. So those things. There's a whole big group on Instagram and everywhere. It's called Everyday Carry. And those guys they think about what is the best to wear with you, that you can use in every situation, because you don't know the future, so you always have to prepare in a small sense. I mean, you, you also go out every day with money in your pocket. You don't go out without money in your pocket, so you can't pay anything. So that this is the same thing. When you get the issue, you find a solution, and also you can think in a bigger way with the other preparation things. So if you have an issue, a national emergency, oh, I have food supplies for the next 5 months. I don't care. Even if I have to eat like 1,000 calories a day, it's not much, but I still get some food, you know? So always think about uh, how can I go forward uh, without anyone helping me at all. So that's the key point.
Exactly. And one of the best things, I'll add a couple things to the car kit. Um, of course, if you're on everyday carry, you already have a flashlight of some sort with you. But a good go-to, like you said, with matches or a lighter. Lighters run out of fuel, matches go bad, so you've always got to switch them out. But one of the things that you should have is a candle. And I say citronella, and I say that for a reason. Let's say you break down and you've traveled cross country, you're in Louisiana, you're in Georgia, you're in Alabama, you're in some southern state where the mosquitoes will carry you away. Texas, you have a candle to keep you warm at night or to give you light, but it also will repel bugs. In the winter, you have that candle in your car, put it down on the opposite floorboard, away from anything that's going to melt or burn, and make sure it's a stable. They have them that it's stable. They have them over here where candles are wide based. They're in like a metal container, and you just keep it away from anything flammable. I suggest also a blanket and or oversuit, something you can slip on over your clothing to add warmth. Always a winter jacket, a heavy winter jacket like a Carhartt. And for you, and if your spouse goes with you, make sure she has a thicker coat, or at least you carry two coats so she can, in emergency, swim in your coat. You know what I mean? And the other thing that I would say is make sure to have salt, sand, and a shovel. And in the winter months, you can take the salt and sand out, keep them in a bucket. Otherwise, if you have the bags, I found this out the hard way when I was a young man with my third car. I didn't even think about it. I had a salt bag, and I started getting rust where the bag was sitting in my trunk. And it's because the salt bag will sweat. A salt bucket won't. So you put it in just like a 5-gallon bucket, put it back there, or they also had, I think it was a gallon bucket that you were able to get for a long time. They did away with those for whatever reason. And that would not sweat through. The salt wouldn't sweat through it. You know, it would just get hard and crust-like. But that's the only additions I would have to having besides a basic toolkit to repair anything that might happen to your car. And if your car's having problems starting in the winter, it's always advisable to have one of those. Now they got them where you plug them in and you keep them charged up. Just when you go out in your vehicle, put that in the back seat or in the trunk, and you have a way to jumpstart your car without asking anybody, and at least a set of jumper cables just in case. Always keep those in your car. Your thoughts, brother?
Right. I mean, it's really good. I mean, especially if you're way away from civilization, like in the area I live, it's no issue. But it is an issue when it's very, very cold and you're in the night and nobody can give you. It can happen, even today. It can happen that you have some very bad luck. You have some no battery and nothing around you, and your car is breaking down. You can freeze pretty quickly. I can tell you that. So yeah, it's not nice. So always try to have some things fixed out. Yeah, I mean, you can thank yourself later. I mean, if that happens, but it doesn't take much, and the outcome will be amazing when you need it.
Oh yeah, just like in the military, if you're out on a field problem and all of a sudden you don't have a slave cable, you don't have this, you don't have that. Back in the day, a slave cable was like jumper cables for military vehicles because they have an adapter and it doesn't go through the battery the same way just because it's a 24-volt system. Just to explain for the civilians out there, sorry about that, Kimmy. And then what you'd have is you'd find out real quick if you dressed improperly and you didn't bring anything with you, because when we first started, we had the Jeeps, even the hardtop Jeeps, the ones that are hard, not the floppy ones. The floppy ones, you're getting wind in you all the time. There's no way to make them airtight unless you're using 100-mile-an-hour tape on them. But they would freeze. You would start freezing very quickly in those vehicles as soon as it got dark. And that's where I got the candle thing from. And, if we were having to do a TCP, we always had some candles in there. And then on another series of talks, Baz brought up the idea, and I never did this, when he was going through, I can't remember what commando school he was going through. He had always brought tins of their little tins. I can't remember the type of candle. They're real small. And he had gotten his socks wet, and he was going, I think, through with a Norwegian guy on this school. And the Norwegian guy didn't have anything to dry his socks. They went through like a river area, and his socks and trousers. And it was midwinter, and all Baz did was light those little candles, put the socks over them high enough where they're not going to combust. They dried out, and then the trousers, he did that, and then the Norwegian guy's like, huh? Tea lights, that's what they're called. Sorry. The candles are called tea lights. And so he showed the guy this, and he put his socks on, he had dry feet, and that could save a life. The quickest way to lose your heat is get wet. Wool will keep you warm when wet. That's one of the things that is better about wearing wool. I always love to wear wool in the winter because it will keep you warm if wet. But I also like Gore-Tex and all the different kinds of new fabrics, but always have a wool shirt and a pair of wool pants, and you'll be styling and profiling, my brother.
Exactly. So always think, if you buy clothes, also always think about their value. Or not only should they be like good looking. I mean, like many people just think about that, but you can also buy really good clothes for every day that are also efficient, in any way that keeps you warm, or keeps you secure, and whatever, or have many pockets where you can put a lot of material in it, and whatnot. I mean, just figure it out, and you get experience in that.
Oh yeah, I remember when I was a kid, we went to school. I can't remember the exact date, but it was a blizzard of 76 in Ohio. And we went to school that day. I remember it was beautiful, wearing shorts when we went to school. By noon, the temperature had dropped astronomically. I can't remember what it was. And I remember as a kid thinking, oh, I'm going to be cold. And luckily, we only had to walk like half a block, my twin and I. And when we were walking back from school, I mean, it was cold. But it had started snowing, heavy snowing. And the cold was one thing. But and nobody knew it was coming. I mean, the forecast didn't predict it. This came out of the blue. Even to this day, blizzard of 76, I believe it was. And so our parents didn't know. Nobody knew. Not parents. My mother didn't know. And nobody else that in that school knew, or because all of us kids showed up the same way. And anyways, we're walking back, and I remember being cold, but the worst part was the snow was melting on exposed skin. And you got to remember, you lose heat very quickly with water, and if you're touching a cold surface, convection, and I'm just telling you, it's a bad move. It will displace your heat very quickly. And that one block, I remember feeling my leg, and it felt like cold. You know, it was cold. You know what I mean? So my core temperature probably was, probably pretty low. But, kids are kind of resilient that way. Your thoughts?
Well, you can really like getting a cold and or freeze really fast if you don't look the right way. So what is important always is like to have a warm belly, you know. And what also is very important, what people don't understand, is to have like warm feet, always have warm feet, because if you have cold feet, it grows up to you, and then you can't walk, and if you can't move, you can't generate warmness, right? So you can't get warm again. So I would strongly look always into that you have warm feet, that they don't get wet at all, and that your body don't get wet, and if they do, try to keep walking all the time, because when you walk around all the time, it produces heat, and it gets your body temperature to rise, and also the water to how can I say that in English, to vaporize. So try that if you can't, but that's some my key tricks to keep warm, even if it's really cold.
Right. You want the water to dry out and evaporate off you. So that's some of the good stuff about the wicking materials that they make with like fleece and stuff. But you get fleece wet, man, you're done. Especially if it's cold out. But yeah, like you said, man, the water evaporates, and then you get dry. The thing about feet, man, that will kill you, literally. And I didn't mention this with the car thing, which I should have. Always keep candy bars and things like that. You can buy canned food, but canned food will freeze. That's a problem. And like you said, make something hot, like a hot tea, hot coffee, something like that, hot cocoa, and drink that. That helps bring your core temperature up. And always have enough food. You have to think like the military. I don't care if you're fat and trying to lose weight and you're on a weight loss program. Have at least something that will feed you 2,000 calories at a minimum per day, because you will be walking, then you'll be sleeping, but those calories that you burn are what are keeping you warm. Those calories keep you warm, and beware of sweat too. So have yourself. The military had a acronym, and it was called COLD, COLD. You wanted your clothing clean, loose, dry, and the O was shit. I forgot the O. Jesus, I hate getting old. Over layered, and it'll come to me. It always does this, man. Um, anyways, you want to go by the acronym. You guys look it up. The Army's Survival Manual on surviving cold weather. Cold weather survival manual, and it's cold, clean, loose, or layered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You have to also think like that you have to react fast. So if you think you're in a shit situation, you have to think fast. The issue with moving, if you're wet or if you're cold, don't move too fast. If you're moving too fast, you're starting to sweat, and if you're starting to sweat, your body has also to warm up again, and so on. And always think about not sweating. Not sweating. That's a key point. Slowly breathing, slowly walking, but regularly. So and try to calm down. I mean, that's easier said than done, but yeah, just move along if you can, and eventually you will be good.
you nailed it. That is overheating. That's what the O was. Thank you for saying that. That reminded me. So it's clean, avoid overheating, layered, loose, and dry. That's cold. So thank you very much, Kimmy, for talking about sweating. I was just when it said dry, I went out of order. So yeah, it's sweating or getting loose for it. So that's exactly what it is, brother, and that's hilarious that you picked it up and I'd forgotten it, and all of a sudden you said it and it jogged my memory instantly. But yeah, you want to avoid overheating and dry, because if you overheat and sweat, that's why it's loosely layered. Because if you take off the outer garment, which should be something that stops rain and everything, and you're starting to sweat, well, even though it's Gore-Tex, it won't let all of the vapor out, and it will get you moist. And that will, if you go soak through to the skin, that will make you cold and start lowering your, when I say cold, that actually is lowering your body temperature, and you'll start feeling it. So to avoid that, you take the outer layer off, and let's say it's still raining, well, you find somewhere with some cover, so you're not getting pelted with rain, or at least try, maybe back in your car or Jeep or whatever, if you can find it. I mean, it may be a rock overhanging, maybe whatever. But the point is, you try to get out of the moisture, and then you take off another layer that's inside and put that waterproof outer layer over it. And that way, you're not sweating to death or getting soaked. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You don't have to. Don't ever wear the wettest material part directly on your skin. If that is so, take it off and just wear your jacket over it, and walk without the wet cloth part. So you can also put the wet cloth part into maybe you're in a snowy area. You can put it in a snowy area. It will it can also dry up like that. Like you can put it into snow and keep it hard and put it in somewhere you can travel with it. So it get better again. So there is some tricks you can do to rotate your clothes and so on, that you keep warm. So yeah.
Exactly, brother, and that's the whole point of it, is just little tips, tricks, things that, I can't even believe I forgot, overheating. So that's kind of a funny addendum. But just goes to show that's another thing cold does to you. And we'll get off cold here in a minute. But cold, if you really get cold, you'll get like a type of befuddlement. You won't really know something that you might think you know. So you may very well know everything spot on, and you're not an old person like I am, and that's starting to lose quick recall when I used to have a photographic memory. One of the reasons why I don't do my first job anymore. Just because my memory's bad and I know that it was time to leave. But I will say that it will make you like that. You'll forget something that is a normal thing, you know, and then it causes you to go into, if you've ever really, really been cold, you'll know what I'm talking about. It'll make you drift into a state of complacency. It's the same thing with the myth of drinking alcohol when you're cold. It allows you to feel warm, but actually you're not warm. And then you become, it's almost a drunkenness to where you're not really paying attention, things happen, and let's say you're starting to overheat. You won't pull that layer of clothes off. Take it from somebody. Look, everything I tell you is something stupid that I've done. And you won't take that layer off, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're soaking wet and you're overheating. You know, you've sweated through it. And that's just bad juju. You will die. Luckily, I was not in danger of dying, and everybody understood, like, whoa, what's up with you? And they're like, come on over here. We need to go over here for a little bit and get warm, bruh. You know what I'm saying? And luckily we had a means to get warm. Also, if you're stuck in your car, this will be the last thing I'll touch on about with cars. Don't run your engine all night long. It'll run all night long. Trust me, most cars will nowadays with a full tank. But you're depleting your thing. Make sure to clear. That's why I said bring a shovel. Make sure to clear. It doesn't have to be a big snow shovel. You can use a, what do you call it, e-tool. And clear your exhaust. Always leave your window open a crack. And I don't care if the snow's over your car, you clear that exhaust and give it lots of room to get out where it's going downwind, not upwind. Do not open your car on the side where the wind's blowing in or blowing out, because it may pull it back in from the wind. You know how that works. So you want it to go out. So the air, you don't, you know, that's just the way it is. Want the wind coming in, but not in the direction of your vehicle, where the exhaust is going, that direction. You want the opposite one opened up, so you're not getting carbon monoxide poisoning. And and also it can make your car stop if it is plugged up. So you just want a clear area for that exhaust to blow. Very important. And you turn it on for increments, you know, like 10, 20 minutes, warm the car up, turn it off. Let yourself get nice and chilly. Also, a sleeping bag's not bad to have. Just get a Walmart cheap sleeping bag. If somebody steals it, it's $25 out the window. Once you start feeling cold, then turn the engine on. 10, 20 minutes. And then turn it off. Simple. Clear as mud? I think so. What do you think, Kim?
Yeah, also also safe gasoline and so on. I mean, like there's so many things have to do when you want to be efficient. I mean, like look that you just have warm, and maybe you have little cover and so on. Yeah, you're good to go, and don't kill your engine. Yeah, totally agree on your part.
Exactly, brother. That's the whole thing. It's just common sense. Just like with the candle. I said put it down there where it's not going to knock over and start a fire or melt the plastic that's now in all the cars. It used to be just metal, so it was easier back then. or you turn over and catch the carpeting on fire. Uh, Now every car's got carpeting. That didn't used to be a normal thing either all the time. You'd have like rubber floor mats. They still have rubber floor mats, but it's over the carpeting. So you have flammable shit in your car is my point. And vent the window. If you're not going to turn your car on, you're still going to get some carbon monoxide from that damn candle burning. Vent it. Just a crack. It doesn't have to be a lot, folks. Just vent it so that you're getting fresh air and it's going out. The other air is going out. And it's super easy, super simple, and common sense. And if you ever start feeling lightheaded or something, whatever you're doing, you did it wrong. Turn it off, or you start feeling out of sorts. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing to add there. I mean, like, yeah. So
This is, I think, the first show I've done on clothing and how to dress, and that's a good thing. That was for winter. For summer, you have to think about you guys, no matter where you are at in the world, you can find bug netting, and you can buy it military surplus in the U.S. Not a problem. Maybe over in your country too, but you can always find this sticky tape type of Velcro, and if you really want to be fantabulous, just put, if you're traveling in the summer and you break down or something, this is a good idea because I've done it. Have some of that sticky tape, double-sided Velcro, where it's sticky on one side, i.e. sticky to the metal, sticky to the bug net, and all you need to do is roll down your window to stay cool and make sure to have the crosswind blowing through. And this is in the summer now, summer, spring, where it's not raining, and you do it on the inside, not on the outside. That way you can roll up the window if you need to, but you just go around the window frame. And it may look tacky having some Velcro on your window frame area, but who cares, right? And all you got to do is pull the other bit of netting, put it over the two windows, and you can style and profile in your pickup, your SUV, or whatever you're driving, your sedan. If you break down and you're stuck out all night or 2 nights or 3 nights. So you never know what's going to happen. You might be the lucky guy that a nice passerby stops by that's not trying to rob you or kill you or rape you, and he might take you up the road to get a tow truck and everything else. With cell phones, it's not so bad now, but I remember back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, there was no cell phones unless you had those big box phones. They had those back in the 80s. All you have to do is look at Lethal Weapon, and you'll see what they looked like, and they were super expensive, and they were like a brick actually. And anyways, now you can call somebody, hopefully, but let's say it's a mass blizzard. The tow trucks are out there helping everybody. It could be overnight until they get to you. It could. I know this for a fact. During the blizzard, it was the blizzard of '78, not '76. During the blizzard of '78, one of my mentors, when I went into the National Guard, he's mentoring me from the difference from the Army and the Marine Corps into the National Guard. Really good dude. He was telling me about rescuing people, and he was in the National Guard out there, mobilized to clear roads, help ODOT, Ohio Department of Transportation. And they were out there pushing snow, and he said it was countless. He was even pulling four-wheel drives out. So, all it takes is you going into a ditch or something, and you're stuck like Chuck. Your thoughts on that, brother?
no, exactly. You're spot on. I mean, yeah. like we said, it doesn't take much, and if you're in that kind of situation, you have to endure, you know, and for to you to endure, it doesn't take much, you know, like keep warm, have air, and then you have to wait maybe 12 hours, maybe more, you know, like have some bottles also in the car when you have like bottles around you, you know, where you can, sorry to say that, where you can piss in it. So the piss stays in the car, brings also warmth into your car, you know. Um, uh, Things like that, logical things like that, and you can put it on your body again, so you get warm and so on and so on. There are many tricks you can use and do.
I agree with you totally. Like you said, something that reseals, like a soda bottle or something. Look, folks, you don't want to keep urine or feces in your body because all that does is allow your body. That takes energy. That takes calories for your body to keep your bladder and your whole colon area, you know, to the temperature when it's got that kind of matter moving through it, because it's still water. You know, there's water in both of those things, just like your body, and it's just efficient to excrete the toxins when you feel it. When you feel like you need to urinate, urinate. If you feel like you need to defecate, defecate. Coffee can with some toilet paper can be the solution if you're out in the middle of nowhere of taking a dump, and if it's in the summertime or urinating. Now they're no longer cans. They still seal, but they're plastic, but they're not the same kind of thing that I was just talking about. But the old cans were best for that. And then you just throw it in a dumpster or something, and people will take, you know, the trash will take it away, and they'll bury it at a what do you call it, landfill. And if it's a urine bottle, also throw it away. Don't be like the truck drivers in the U.S. that throw their urine jugs out the window, because you know somebody's got to pick that up. You know, it's nobody else should have to pick up anybody else's piss or shit. That's my opinion. Your thoughts?
Right, but we don't talk about that. I mean, like we're talking about emergency situation where you had to survive, and these are tricks and a good trick to keep your body temperature right. You know, so yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, like if it's summertime, you can just dig a hole and you can just pee on the grass. It doesn't matter. Even you can pee on the snow. It doesn't matter. But you're gonna lose heat once you step out of the car. And that was the point with the jar, or you know, the bottles, is exactly correct. You're not getting out of the car, but you're getting rid of the fluids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It also, and the fluid can in the jar can keep you warm as well. You can put it through to your body again because it's warm. It came out of your body, so you can have some warm hands again, or warm belly, or something like that. You know.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm there with you, brother. Everything you just said. It's exactly. If it starts feeling cold on you, that's when you put it on the floorboard. And whenever you get back to your car, if you're rescued, you can have it dumped properly, or you know, in an emergency. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So all those small things, they don't take much space in your car. You can put them where your fifth wheel is. You know, you have so many places in your car where you can put those. You know, and they can really save your butt. You know, in a difficult situation. I mean, like we're talking right now about like cold situation, but because for myself, I think like a cold situation is one of the worst. Um, yeah, but yeah, I mean, like if we talk about warm, this is a whole other topic.
Oh yeah, oh oh yeah, cold is number one. For some reason, my thing when I press it sometimes are not quick. Yeah, you're exactly right. And you can also now the people in America. I don't know your laws there, Kimmy, but um, in America, it's not necessarily illegal to have different like compartments in your car, not hidden, but like other compartments while you're in America. If you bounce across the border with your car going into, let's say, Canada or Mexico, and you come back with it, even if it's not hidden, there is a law under 19 USC, which is the customs regulations, but remember, regulations de facto are law. If you cross into the border and uh, the CBPO or an ICE agent or a Border Patrol guy catches you, they can actually impound your car, take your car, and say you had a smuggling compartment. And like I said, even if it's not hidden, it's a compartment, and that's how the 19 USC is written on this particular law. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but you can look it up and find its fact. It doesn't say hidden compartments. It said any compartment not put into the vehicle by the manufacturer. So that means if you build a new compartment in there to put some gear, if you've built it and put it in there permanently, you have just violated that. So don't cross the border with that car. That's just my suggestion for you. You can believe me or not, but it's the truth. And
Well,
I don't
well,
know.
in Europe doesn't nobody cares basically. But if you go into Switzerland, they will shred your ass here. I mean, like they need only like you change your mirrors, you're losing $200 or something like that, or you can't even drive. Again, the rules here are like they don't even make sense. But except from this country, every country else, you should be okay with any modifications.
Cool. So there, Europe, you guys are handled. Um, I don't know. I mean, politics. We could delve into a little bit of that if you want, and touch on stuff. But I don't know what really is to talk about, except for how COVID, this pandemic, or as I call it, the Wuhan flu, uh, has been politicized. And your thoughts on that? You can disagree with me or agree, brother. It doesn't matter to me. You just be honest, as you always
Yeah,
are.
well, the the situation here in Europe is more difficult with the COVID probably than in the US because the European Union enforces draconian laws onto their citizens of their different countries here. So we have in Germany, you can't even like cross borders to another state, like without getting like a fine or something like that. So everyone is like everyone has to stay at home. I think the second lockdown is right around um, um, the edge, so around the corner. So I guess we're seeing so much things right now with wearing masks and everything, and they're fully going into extreme mode. What I mean, like really, really extreme mode. What you can see in the US is a little of that what we're going through right now because they're like yeah, they're shifting like on full power right now, and yeah, it's getting at the point that you can't do anything anymore. So yeah, yeah, and the supply chains as we talked about, supply chains in the beginning are completely crushed. Like if you even we go to Amazon or something like that, you can't find anything specific you want. You have some stock things that are left, but you can't like look for this or this, or maybe it's sold out, or it's totally complicated to get it, or it's totally overpriced. Bars, restaurants, everything has to be kind of closed. And I heard like police and military are going to check every working place if things running out and so on. So we are in a scary place right now. I mean, like if Americans are listening to this show, I urge you to look that it's not going that far in your country. The things that you saw in Australia, it happens right now in Europe. So.
Oh yeah, I've seen that a little bit, man. On Australia, Europe, I wasn't so clued into. I know that Germany is saying they're gonna lock down again. I think you told me that, and a brother of mine earlier. So it's kind of bizarro land right now. But politics on the American front, the only reason they're still doing this, you're seeing it in mostly Democrat or Rhino states. And it just started happening with the second tier of lockdown. When they started that, you had the rhinos join in because they saw this as an opportunity to try to remove our president by collapsing our economy. And I've always voted for Mike DeWine in my state. And he's always been, a steady voice, a good man. I have a flag when he was a state representative during the Gulf War. Him and his wife personally delivered to my mother at a trailer park where she lived so that she could send that flag to me, and it flew in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And the Ohio State flag that flew over the State House of Ohio. And I will never, and nor will my family, ever vote for him again because he locked down Ohio. There was no reason to lock down Ohio. It's all bullshit in Ohio. I mean, we have our problems. There's been people that have died, but those are at-risk people. This thing is not like a blade cutting through Ohio and killing people off left and right. That's not what's happening. And it's not a Sith, in other words, a Sith, however you pronounce that damn thing, where you cut what the Grim Reaper carries, a scythe, Sith, whatever. Anyways, I refuse to wear a mask. I still go wherever the fuck I want. Here's the point. It shouldn't affect any American. I'm not going to go around old people, if I think I'm infected. I would self-isolate. That's just common sense. But also people with different diseases. A friend of mine's told me he had diabetes. Guess who I don't go see? Him. I in case I catch it. I could have already have had it and it's gone out of my system. Who the fuck knows? This thing's not the bugaboo. I mean, you get Trump, a 74-year-old dude, gets it and he's back out. And I hope this would be the funniest thing. You know how to make the left become anti-vaxxers super quick? You'll laugh. Use Trump's blood and don't tell anybody whose blood they got that's now immune from COVID, and just make it public that Trump's donated his blood platelets for the antidote. And dude, you will never see a leftist take another shot in their life. It is hilarious.
Well, it's a joke generally. I mean, like if you think about the terms hatred and hating someone and so on, hating Trump. I mean, like, for what reason? Why didn't they hate like on Bush, who started so many wars and so on? I mean, it's just stupid. I mean, like, the left is eating itself, and they should, and no hope for them. Sorry, but yeah.
The right's eating itself too when you have the rhinos. Rhino in our vernacular is Republican in name only. That means they act just like a leftist. And like I said, DeWine didn't act like a leftist until now. His true colors shone through. And there's an old saying we had in the military: adversity doesn't build character; it reveals it. You know, you had that in your body your whole time, your essence of who you are, the character, the abilities that you had. You've always had that. The stamina, the honor, the loyalty, all that stuff shines through during adversity. When you hear about some dude who rescues 5 of his dudes in a war zone and gets the Medal of Honor or something like that. Well, he did that because that was already in him, but that adverse thing that happened revealed it. He proved it. And the proof is always in the pudding. It's in the action. It's not in what you think you are or who you think you are. It comes from something happening and it gets revealed. And that's a fact. I've seen it many times. I've seen many brave men. And, you know, it is what it is, my brother. Your thoughts?
Well, they can grow. I mean, like, I'm not on the side that like everyone is unredeemable and so on. I mean, like, I wouldn't also proclaim that I'm like kind of left or right or in any terms like that. Just regular logical thinking human being that is decent, and yeah, we should be like a little bit more unpolitical, you know, like in terms of what unites us, you know, and let go what divides us. So that's my thoughts about that.
I agree with you. That's why I call myself a political atheist. That means politically, I don't have any belief in any of them anymore. The one thing I do believe, and I'll tell you, honestly, I don't think I've ever said this out loud. The one thing I do believe is Trump pisses off the left and the right. And anytime, just like old Ron Paul back in the day. And Rand Paul did it too, to an extent. And when you have both the left and the right hating you in politics, you're probably doing something right, and it's usually for the people, because both sides exist to make rules and laws to constrain the people, and that's not constitutional. If it doesn't follow the Constitution, then it's not constitutional and it's not legitimate, in my opinion. And I decide what's a legitimate law that I'm going to follow and what I'm not. Your thoughts?
Right, right. So that's yeah. You have to find your way of life for yourself. You know, you shouldn't not any organization or you know, like, or friends or someone should provide that to you. You should find it yourself. I mean, when you go through life, you have to look deep in yourself, really. I believe, I'm a strong believer in that, the more time you spend alone and think about solutions in a positive way, you get the solution, what is the best. And then you can look at other people's thoughts and books and so on, and you see a lot of similarities between your thoughts and what they said. Or in my case, what I thought is right, then I checked with the Bible, or I checked with some stories about some military people that they had the same feelings and ideas when they were isolated or they didn't have any hope and so on. And then you build up. First, you come down and then you build up. And when it grows beautifully. So, yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I seen it vilified. I seen this before with Perot. A lot of people forget who his vice presidential candidate was, and it was Admiral Stockdale. Admiral Stockdale was in the Ho Chi Minh Hotel, Saigon Hotel, whatever, not Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City's hotel, which is their prison, okay, where they were getting tortured. And Stockdale proved his mettle by banging out on the pipes in Morse code different Bible verses for men to read, to give them some, when they were thinking they were going to fucking gack themselves, kill themselves over what they were going through. And he saved a lot of men. And here's an old adage we used to say in the military: come shit or bleed. The job's getting done. We're going to finish this thing, okay? And I've always lived by that adage. I think that it's God doesn't pick. There's no perfect person on here except for one person. He died 2,000 plus years ago on a cross, according to the Bible. And I'm not going to get all preachy on my show, but everybody knows I believe in Christ. It doesn't matter. I believe that. But the other thing I'll say is I'm no better and no worse than any other man. And I can tell you that because every bit of training I ever went through for the military or any kind of adversity that I went through, I always maintain I'm not any better and I'm not any worse than anybody else. I have my faults, and those faults are legend. And I believe myth is better than legend. And it's better to be a myth than a legend. And that's my thoughts on that, brother. Your thoughts?
That's a good ending word. I want to keep it like that. Sounds perfect.
Awesome. Well, folks, we had a good time talking. A nice positive attitude. Don't let the bastards drag you down or bring you down. Okay? And this is coming from a bastard. Joyfully. With that being said, I'm going to slowly raise the drawbridge. Let you guys finish your coffee, tea, soda, and or adult libation. And slowly meander off and out of Kaiser's Castle. Thank you for your time today. I hope you got something out of it that was worthwhile. God bless, be well, be safe. Shuff out.